This is Dr. David Allen coming to you on the television program, People Helping People. You know, in our family program, which numbers now about 25 families throughout Nassau, one of the major challenges we face is the single family. And tonight with me are two special people. There's Rita Thompson and Amari. Rita and Amari are part of our Camp Road family. They've been some of the real pillars of the Camp Road family. I've learned so much from them. And they're here to talk with me tonight, to talk to you, to start a dialogue, because many of our people have single families. Many mothers are saying to me they can't cope. Many homes without a father. If you noticed recently, we had the sea grape robbery, young boys involved. Another one in Blair, 7 young boys came into a home 2 weeks ago. And then we have a program at our office in Centerville, 7th Terrace, where we take a number of the adolescents who've been involved in minor crimes like fighting or throwing rocks in school, because I firmly believe that if we can get them with their minor crimes in a carrot stick approach, help them work through their issues, we can prevent them from going on to criminality. This is important because these boys are between 11 and 18. And the average age of a murderer in Nassau is between 16 and 24. But the good news, all is not lost. When you meet a single parent like Rita Thompson and what she's done with her young child, Amari, they have something to teach us. I've had to listen to her and to them because I feel that we in the Bahamas have not given enough time to thinking through these issues. Many parents are suffering greatly. Some just cannot even control their children, and they need help. Ms. Thompson, Rita, you make it look so easy. Obviously, it can't be that easy.
It's not easy, Dr. Allen. It's not easy, and I'm sure I am not the only single parent in the Bahamas who is trying with their child. But the difference, what made a difference in my life was when I wholeheartedly changed some things that I was doing in my life. Personally, I accepted Jesus as my personal savior, and then I started to look at the life of some persons that I wanted to emulate. And the things that I kept doing for a number of years, I thought I had it going on. I thought everything was okay with me. But when I gave birth to my son, I discovered that some stuff that I used to do, I couldn't do anymore because it wasn't a good example for him, number one. And then when I do it, I didn't like the way I felt as a
Rita,
mother.
are you saying that when you have a child, you have to make choices?
Yes, you have. For me, I look at it. I mean, I had him at a late age, and what disturbed me with a lot of single parents is that they're on child number 4 and their life still hasn't changed. Like the life bulb, it didn't turn on for them. But for me, it turned on for me, I think when he was at the age of 4. Something I did, I told him not to do, and I did it, and he came back and he repeated it, and that made me feel bad. And I started to look at life totally different. And I said, if I don't set the proper example for him, what's gonna happen to my child? What's gonna happen? And then I just had to change everything. So I decided to become a part of a church, and I must say that my pastor and his wife, they have been a strong impact on my life because I see the lifestyle that they lived, and I look at it as a single parent, and they give you, he be real with you. He tell you about, all the things, the bad choices that he did when he was younger, and how God changed him and God could change him. I tried to do the same thing, and I've seen God work in our lives. But I would encourage persons to listen. If you did something last year or 5 years ago, and today in 2017 you're getting the same results, you need to analyze your situation. There's some things that you're doing wrong. You have to change what you're doing. You have to wholeheartedly look at your life and say, listen, I can't look at the neighbor, I can't look at my sister, my brother, whoever. You have to look at yourself and you have to analyze it and say, what is best for me and my children or my child? And that's what you honestly have to do.
Wow. And Mariam, what's it been like for you?
Well, it's been sort of tough not having my father in my life. But like the first few, like when I was small, I used to be wondering where was my daddy. I only used to see my mommy home, school, go, we go. I never used to see my daddy. So one day I just started questioning my mommy, where my daddy. I could go see my daddy. I call him or something. And one time we did call him. He answered the phone and said he wasn't there. So my mommy called him back and told him that was wrong. But all I wanted to do was see him. All I wanted to do was hear his voice, see him. And one time I really did got to see him for my first, like, when I could understand, like, what was going on. I was in grade 3, and he 7 or 8. I was 7 or 8. So I asked my mommy when we was passing through the area where he works. So I asked my mother if I could go see my daddy now. She said, listen to me. If you go in there, you can learn some stuff. But you ain't gonna, I don't want you to get your feelings hurt. So I went inside there and I saw him, and he came back out with me and started to row with my mother, and I only wanted to see him. So that really hurt my feelings because all I wanted to do was see him, and he made a big scene about it.
That was so hard for you.
That's all.
Rita, do you ever get discouraged?
Sometimes you get discouraged. We all are humans, and sometimes you have your low moments. You have low moments, and that's why I say you have to be careful who you take advice to from also. Because you have persons, if they only see negative things, the only thing they could feed you is negative thoughts. So you have to be careful who you listen to, who you vent to. You have problems. Yes, we have our low periods. We have moments where we don't have. But I have always taught my son that today is not going to be the same day tomorrow.
You have moments when you don't have?
Yeah, when we don't have, we have to go without. And
You mean food?
No, not food, but basic things that you were used to. I thank God that we have never been in the position where we never knew where food was coming from. I've never experienced that. And my heart go out to a lot of persons that I see in that position, because I have never experienced that. I remember growing up younger, we experienced that, but not as an adult, not with my son. No, not that. But
now, Rita, some of the parents tell me it's hard to discipline a child when you're a single parent. How did you discipline, or how do you discipline a Marian?
Well, there's something, okay, let me use an example with his cell phone. Well, personally, I had a problem with getting a cell phone for him because, when you open up those that's like the World Wide Web, when you have cell phone and internet and all that. So I was kind of like a little hesitant. But one of his Gaudi gave him a cell phone. And I said to him, you only could use the cell phone on the weekend. School nights, you're not allowed to use the cell phone. And there's boundaries that you have to set. Whatever company he keeps, I monitor who they are. I know who their parents are. I know where they live. I have communication with them and all that. I live in a community where I grew up and I saw negative things all around me. I didn't have to go out my house or out my family to saw negative things. But I decided what I wanted to do. Now, this is a different area where era where my son he's 12 years old. So modern technology and all the badgering in school and all these stuff, you know, the vulgarness of the schools and the young children and all this, I can't protect him from everything, but there's some things that he will tell some of his friends, no, my mommy, I got ask my mommy, but I know my mommy can tell me no. He know there's some things that I just don't allow. I had to cut off close people from around me because of the lifestyle and the things that they were doing, because I didn't want that impact or that influence on my son. I could count the time that I physically had to put my hand to say beat him, but when I speak to him, I sit him down and I say why you're not going to do this, why you're not supposed to do this, and this is the consequences if you do it. So you have a choice. Wow. So that's how I do it. When I was growing up, I used to get cussed at, I used to get beaten. And it used to be a lot of abuse.
So you changed that.
So I tried to change that way of bringing up my son, because for me, if they said my brother was coming, all they had to do was call his name, and everything you were doing, you change. But for me, I find that violence that made me angry. When I grew up angry because of that. And not till later on in life I realized the impact it had on my life. So I didn't want to put that same thing on my son. Now, if I have to punish him and beat him, he know I will do that. I ain't get no question about that, because he know when mommy say something, if he do something different, he know what happens after that. But you have to get involved in your children's life, because I see a lot of young mothers, and they drop their children off to a sleepover. They drop their children to the mall. They drop them to this way. See, I don't do that. If I have some friends right now who are upset with me because I said to them, if you're having a function, I have a 12-year-old son. So if you put on your invitation, you're going to invite me to a function and you say no children, then that means you're excluding me, because I can't leave my child. He's a part of me.
You don't leave your child?
No, I don't leave him all over the place, sir. Wherever I is, you see him. I ain't leaving him all over the place. He is my responsibility. He's not the Grammy, the auntie, the uncle. He is my responsibility. And see how you might bring up your house. I might bring up my house a different way. So if I leave my child there for 5-6 hours, when I pick up my child, he come with this. See, that's a whole different thing I have to do. Now I have to go through all that different training. I already mold him. And then he gone there for a couple hours and they done get his whole mind mixed up.
Wow.
So all of that you have to be careful of.
Now, recently in the Bahamas, we have this phenomenon where the young boys are getting involved in criminal acts, like in the sea grape robbery and other things like that. What's causing that?
See, for me, I feel that, again, I go back. See, I only could speak to what I could see and some experience you had living in the community where I live. Parents, especially mothers, if you know your child bring home that glass and that glass do not belong to you, you didn't buy it. If you would have bet, I am the only person to give him what he's supposed to have. If he brings this home and I know I didn't buy that, and he honestly did not get that the right way, why would you allow your child to remain with that in the house? I see parents, they cover up for the children, which is wrong. If the children are wrong, you have to say they're wrong. We as adults, if you make mistake, you have to say, okay, if I mash your toe, if I might say something that offend you, I'm sorry, and move on. But you have to scold the children right at this age, even smaller than this. You have to let them know that is wrong. You don't do that.
Wow. Single parenthood in our country is a real challenge, bringing up particularly young boys. And Rita Thompson is an example. She's in our Camp Road family. She knows the community. She knows the challenges. Please listen to her. We're going to take a break and be right back.